Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And again, just because we're going to be talking about the studio setup and markup tools and how to set up a project correctly and efficiently, if you have questions afterwards, please put them in the chat below. Make sure to make them available to everyone so everyone can see those questions, which also spawns some other questions. So without further ado, let me jump right into screen sharing. Here goes. Let me know. You guys see my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you see my screen. Awesome. Scott, Virginia, and Amy, and everyone else. Thank you so very much. All right. So the first thing about studio setups, what is a studio project and why is it important? For those of you who didn't vote for it, let me explain what studio projects gives you. Regardless of what edition of Bluebeam you have the ability to upload project files, any file type, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, DWG, RVT, NWC. If it's an electronic file, you can store it on the cloud. And the reason why this is important is you're no longer tied into using your own server to access your information. So for most of us, when we're working remotely, if we want to have access to our drawing files, our PDFs, our Word docs, our documents, and we don't want to have to VPN into an office, there's zero IT involved in this setup in using what's called studio projects. And in studio projects, this gives you the ability to host your files online, and you can have, and it's an unlimited amount of space. You can put any file type. And I think it's crazy how easy it is to set up, and you're going to see how wonderful it is. And part of studio projects is over here using something called sessions. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit because it really goes from setting up a studio project to sessions. And I'll explain why that's really important, and then how to share markups. So first thing that I'm going to do is do a little bit of a setup on my review to make sure that everything is set up the way that it should be. If you have review open, you can follow along with me. If not, this is going to be an incredible thing. Over here under review, I'm going to go to my preferences. Now, under preferences, here's where we want to do some setup prior to setting up a project. And this goes for anything in Bluebeam Review. First thing that we want to do is under here, under general and under options, look for user. Now, you'll notice my username is my computer name. I'm computer 76443. Nice to meet you. Well, that doesn't make sense to anyone. If I go through and I create a set of markups, those markups are going to show down below over here under author, and it's going to say my username, computer name 76443 reporting. Now, that's no fun. Over here, what you want to do is set up your username to be your name. And typically what I will do is I'll put in the name of the company that I work for. That way, when I make my markups, the author information will take on the information set in the user dialog box. And anyone looking at the markups will say, oh, this was created by Rick. Okay, at ASTI. Awesome. The second thing that you want to set up in preferences, if you go over here to Studio, you want to go through and attempt to check out files on open. And this is really easy because what we'll be able to do in setting up a studio project is simply just double click on that file to check it out and be able to use it. And the second thing, part of Studio, is we want to clear, open, and save files from Studio from toolbar only. And you'll see the reason why when we get into sets, if that comes up as a question, okay? Over here, so we're going to just have those three things set up. And by the way, for those of you who might be looking at this online in different countries, Bluebeam Studio offers you the ability to store your documents in different servers around the globe, not just here in the US, but overseas across the pond as well. So regardless where you're at, Bluebeam Studio is set up for you all around the world. If you're in the UK or in Switzerland or Norway or Denmark, you're going to use your server closest to your location. For us here on the States, I'm going to go ahead and use the studio here in the US, and I'll go ahead and hit OK. So now I'm set up. I've set up my preferences. Now I'm going to go through and set up a project. To set up a project, all I have to do is sign in first over here under Studio. Now I've gone ahead and done that to save a little bit of time. If you're not signed in, you're going to want to click on this icon right here. This will connect you to Studio. If you don't have a Studio account within Bluebeam, there'll be a button there to say create account. It's free. Go ahead and set it up. As long as you are paying for Bluebeam, you have the ability to create a project. Over here, what I'm simply going to do is to create a new project. I'm going to click on this button. Now, before I do, what exactly is a project again? It's the ability to store a set of drawings as a project online. The nice thing about this is I can invite anyone to this particular project as long as they are a paid customer of Bluebeam, they have an active Bluebeam that they've paid for, then as long as they're working in Bluebeam, they can be invited to that studio project using a unique identifying number like these right here. Once they're invited to the project, and I'll show you how we're going to set up permissions to allow or not allow people in, we're going to go through and allow those people to behave like studio projects were like a public library. In that case, a public library, if I want to check out a book, I check it out, I have ownership of it, I can read that book or the file in this case, and when I'm done with it, I close it and I check it back in so others can use it. That's what studio projects are for. So let's go through and set one up. I'm going to go over here to all projects and hit the plus sign. Over here, then click on new project. I'm going to go ahead and give it a name, and I'm going to call this Summer Fun 101 Setting Up Projects. And see, I can't talk and type at the same time. Go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. So what it's doing right now, it's going through and setting up that project for the very first time. You'll see that it's set up over here with a unique identifying number. Now, at this point, what I'm going to do is start to upload the files that are going to be on studio projects. Now, something to keep in mind is the files that are currently on your computer or on your server will remain there. All I'm doing is taking them and creating a copy and uploading it to the cloud. When I upload it to the cloud, at that point, it's a good idea as a workflow to archive the files that are on your C drive or on your server, because now these up-to-date files will live on the cloud. In order to go through and upload my files, I'm going to make it really, really easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over here to this side of the screen. I'm going to go ahead and open up my File Explorer, and I'm going to look for those files that are sitting on my server. Over here, see, I had different folders set up for this exercise. And over here, what I'm going to do is simply go through and start to upload the different drawings. Over here, what I have is the architecture set, civil, MEP, and Microsoft Office. All I'm going to do is start to drag those folders from my server right over here into this window. And I'm just dragging them one at a time. I've noticed that it makes it a little bit faster if we drag these one folder at a time instead of selecting them all. Although you can do them all at once. And that's it. Now I have my files. I'm going to go ahead and just minimize this. And you'll notice it's uploading all of those files. This is awesome. So now when I start to take a look at these drawings, all of the folders over here already start to have my drawings. In this case, my architectural set has all my PDF sets from my architecture. Civil has civil drawings. And for example, I even have office files, and we're going to see how this is all set up. But before I get into it, let's go through and set up the permissions. Right now, all the folders and files are up there online. And I'm going to take my hat off because I don't know about you guys, but it's hot. I'm over here in Florida and it is toasty. So over here, I've set up my files. Now, before I start to invite everyone to this project, this is how we invite everyone. First, what I'm going to do is go over here to my project settings. This is an important key. After uploading your files, go over here to project settings. Let's take a look at this dialog box because it's super, super important. If security is your main concern when sharing files, this is something that you definitely want to look at. The very first thing that I'm going to do is look at the general tab over here and start to understand if the project name needs to be adjusted. I can simply click over here and change it. I can change that to project. Okay. The other thing that we can't change cannot change is the project ID. This is its unique identifier. This will tell me information on how many users are currently using my project and how many folders have been created. Next, I'm going to click on Manage Notifications. This will open up a dialog box that goes online and looks at the settings for this particular project. Now, I've gone through and enabled notifications for this project. So if something changes or someone updates information, I'll receive an email. In addition to this, I can receive email notifications from any of the activity, such as the daily digest, emailed with markups if someone creates markups, if an active session is updated. And I'm going to go ahead and place a check mark on all of these. I want to know if someone is working in my project. This will automatically let me know. And I'll go ahead and click apply since I made those changes. Then I can simply close this dialog box. Go back over here to project settings. And over here, I'm going to go to manage shared links. Under manage shared links, this information over here gives me information on all of my projects. And I can see which ones have been expired or the ones that are active. And over here are all my active files. This just gives me a couple more pieces of information. Okay, but manage notifications is step one. Next is user access. If there's one thing you take away from this, if you stop right here and say, all right, I've learned enough, Rick, I don't need to know anything more, all you have to do is make sure restrict users is checked on. This will basically restrict people from being able to get into your files. And the only way that they have access is if they are users that have been invited. Right now, no one's been invited, so no one should be able to access these files unless I invite them via email. If it's an open project and you don't care who's in it, I can uncheck this, and then anyone with this number over here, all I have to do is just email it to them, and they can join anytime, anywhere without any restrictions. Most people don't like that, so always make sure restrict users are on. Next, what I'm going to do is start to go through and add permissions. Now, I have the ability to set permissions. When I first set this up, I have all attendees are set to deny. This is a good thing because you don't want to accidentally give everyone full access. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and add users or groups to this list. By clicking on the plus sign over here, I have the ability to add these groups. Now, let me show you how I created these groups. These groups are defined by me, and those groups are then assigned to individual email addresses. Let me show you how I got there. By clicking on the gear icon over here, I have the ability to look at the group, and this group, for example, that I created called admin full is just myself. My design team, I've added these people as members of the design team. My estimators are different people, and the owners are yet a different group as well. The reason why I divvy up the different groups is I want some people to have just read access, like my owners, so they can just read the information. And my design team, for example, might have the ability to go through and upload and download. And then the admin might be someone like me that has full rights to delete a whole project, okay? So those are typically the three levels. Again, just kind of like read only, read write, and then read write delete as an admin. And so those are kind of like the three people. If I wanted to create a new group, all I have to do is simply come over here and click the plus sign, add a name to the group. In this case, I'm going to just call this reviewers. Oops, looks like I misspelled that. Do I have reviewers? No, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to call webinar viewers. Okay. Those webinar viewers, what I'm going to do is simply come over here and add your information. Theoretically, this would be, let's say, support at ASTI. Any of the individuals that I want to add, I can start to bring that information in, and I'll just manually go through and add those informations. Now over here, what I'm going to do is start to add those user groups. I'm going to go back and now add those user groups that I have, and I'm going to come over here and put in the design team and the webinar viewers. So now those people will be automatically invited. Next, I'm going to go through over here and take a look at the permission levels for my design team. When I click on attendees, you'll see that everything is set to deny. But when I go to design, nothing is set up over here. So the design team, for example, I'll start to go through and allow them to send invitations. Manage user access, I'm going to say deny. Manage permissions, deny. Basically, my design team over here, they can send PDF to sessions, allow. Revoke checkout, we don't want that. This is just an admin thing. So I'm going to go ahead and hit deny. And share link files, I'm going to hit allow. Full control, deny. Webinar users, I'm going to go through over here and allow them to manage access, no way. Manage permissions, no way. Send PDFs, yes. Now, the nice thing is once this is set up, you're pretty much, oops, I meant that to be deny, and share link files, allow, and deny. Then I'm going to go to permission levels. So this is permission levels at the folder level. Over here, when I go over here and go to the permission level, I'm going to add the users to specific folders. I'm going to go over here and add those user groups again, just like that. And now my design team over here can just look at read, write, as I mentioned before. The webinar viewers are just read only. And then I'm going to come over here and add administrators, full. The administrators full have full read, write. And all of this is inherited by the parent. So the nice thing is the webinar viewers over here, for example, let's say I don't want you to see the sensitive information because it's sensitive and I don't want you to see my bid set or whatever it is. Over here, this is my inventory, sensitive information. I can come over here and hide that from these viewers. So they'll be able to read everything, but MS Office, you won't be able to see anything. My design team, again, my design team, I don't want them to see it, or maybe I do. And over here, I can change that information per folder that I have. Remember, each one of these folders, I can go through and micromanage each one of those folders. Whew, awesome. So I've gone through and set that up, and I'm going to simply go ahead and hit OK. Oh, boy, everything's now set up. Preparation for setting up a project is key for success. Now, all I need to do is come over here and invite users. Now, if you're using Bluebeam Review, they made it super, super easy. All I have to do is come over here and type their email addresses. Now you're going to go, well, wait a minute, that doesn't sound easy, Rick. Well, let me show you how easy it is. I'm going to go over here into Outlook, and I'm just going to start a new email, and I'm just going to start typing in some names of people that I work with. And what's nice about this is if I go through and start to add more people in this list, all I have to do is if their information is in the body of an email or just something like this, all I have to do is highlight all of their information, copy it. I'll go back over here and paste that information. When I paste that information, all I have to do is click, check, and include emails. What this will do is it'll go through and organize all the different people's emails and then show them the domain that they belong to. This is an easy way. If you have an email chain that is going to a bunch of people, this gives you the ability to highlight all those things that are from, to, and from on your email address, and it'll start to gather them by groups. This is awesome. This is such an amazing new feature. And all I'm going to do over here is invite them. So now when I invite them, it went ahead and Bluebeam sent them an email notification saying they've been invited to the project. All of these people, ideally, their email addresses would have already been entered in ahead of time in my groups. Remember when I set those up over here. And I'll go ahead and hit OK. So in my studio projects, now anyone that works on those drawings can go through and check it out. Now, talking about checking it out, I have the ability, because remember, I set it up in my preferences, that all I have to do is double click. So if I was involved in this project and I wanted to review this drawing, all I have to do is simply double click on it. When I double click on it, it automatically says, do you want to open it in side or split view? I'm going to hit no, and it opens it up. Now, what this does is very quickly, it checked out that file from being online, and I have possession of it. No one else can make those markups. So now I'm going to simply go through and start to make up my markups. And here's my Cloud Plus, and I'm going to say over here, road to nowhere. And I'll start to make my markups. Now, another thing that I can start to do is when I talk about creating my markups, typically I'm going to go through and have my own custom tool set. The idea here is that I want to be able to have tools that are used for all the different disciplines, okay? And I want their markups to show in a different color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a tool set for everyone to use within the studio project. To do this, first of all, what I'm going to do is go over here and open up a new PDF. I'm going to create an empty page, and I'm going to show you how we're going to create a custom markup tool set that can be then shared with everyone on this studio project. What do you guys think? Is that going to be fun? Yes. Okay, I see some shaking heads. Awesome, great. So, and again, why are we doing this? Is because if I'm inviting as the architect, my engineers, my contractors and owners, I want to see their markups in different colors. If they're just opening up Bluebeam as is, then they're going to come over here and use Markup Cloud Plus, and it's just going to be Cloud Plus. When they come in and they add a markup over here, it's just going to say whatever, and then that information will just be generically labeled Cloud Plus. What I'm going to show you is how we're going to go through and create unique Cloud Plus with different subjects so that I can organize it as the project architect. To do that, I'm going to go over here and create a new PDF. Together, I'm going to click on File, New PDF, and what I'm simply going to do is just go ahead and put in just a regular 8.5 by 11, just a regular empty sheet of paper. If I have a style, I can go over here and start to add information, but I'm just going to leave it as an empty piece of paper. Over here's my empty piece of paper, and now what I'm simply going to do is start to create some markups. The idea here is that I'm going to create a landing page for markups that can be distributed for all my different team members. Over here, what I'm simply going to do is add a Cloud Plus icon, and I'm going to come over here and add this one, and this is going to be for Arc Comments. Okay, I'm going to select this, go to its properties. By the way, if you don't see the properties icon, just right click and go to properties. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change two pieces of information right here, the subject. So when this comes in, it'll be organized by the right subject. This is for Arc Comments. Next, I'm going to come over here and change the fill color. I'm going to change the fill color to, let's say, this yellow, and then click highlight. Make sure to hit highlight. That way, any of the information is highlighted below. So now this is set. Now all I'm going to do is copy this a couple more times and make different comments for my different groups. Okay. A nice way of doing this is I'm going to hold Control and just bring that down. When I hold Control, it goes through and creates copies. Isn't that fun? This is easy. Now over here, this one is going to be my MEP comments. So I'm going to come over here and type MEP comments and put MEP comments. And my MEP comments, I like those to be blue. Over here is going to be my structure. And you can see how quick this is to do once we have the first one set up. Might even do it faster if I'm not talking, but what can you do? By the way, you'll notice over here, it's really a dark orange. It's way too dark for me. I can click over here on this drop down and reduce its saturation. Aha, there we go. And if I really like this color, all I have to do is click this plus sign and it adds it right here to my custom tools, my custom colors, I should say. All right, so we got for structure, who else are we missing? MEP structure. How about our civil guys? Some love for civil. Let's come over here and I'm gonna go over here and do civil. And change that to civil. And for civil, I'm going to go ahead and give them pink, light magenta. Again, color's too dark, no problem. I'll simply come over here and reduce the saturation. And I like to add it over here to my custom colors and civil, highlight. Perfect. All right. Now let's just make it a little pretty. I'm going to go over here and create a box around it. So I'm going to come over here and create a box just because I can. And I'm going to come over here and put in a text box. And I'll go over here and supersize it. I'm going to say, please use these tools for marking up your drawings. Ah, look at that. I typed it right the first time. Yay me. So now all I'm going to do is simply save this as something. And what I'm going to do is, this is the key. Now I have the ability to save this under my preferences. I have the ability now to save it directly to the studio project. So over here, I'm going to put it in the root directory, and I'm going to call this general tools or markup tools. Okay. And I'm going to save it online to the studio. This dialog box showed up because I had gone through under preferences, by the way, over studio and unchecked this right here. Okay. Now, when I go ahead and close this, I'll go ahead and save what I'm working on just for fun. And I'm going to check everything back in. If I go back over here to summer fun, there it is. So now it's a conversation that you have to have with your engineers to basically go through and start to use these. If I wanted to go through and open this up, okay, let's say I'm an engineer and I've been invited to this project. I'm going to go through, oh, I didn't mean to open up side by side. I'm going to open that up, say no. And how do I get these to my toolbar? So I don't have to keep going to this drawing set. I'll go over here to my tool chest, manage tools. I'm going to go over here and add tools. And see, you guys thought this was going to be an easy webinar. I'm covering so much. You guys picked actually the topic that has all the stuff in it. So congrats. Over here, what I'm going to do is this is creating a new tool set, which is actually something that everyone should know how to do. And I'm going to call this Cool Tools for Webinar. And this is just creating a tool set for me on my computer. And I'm just going to go ahead and just place that BTX file, which, by the way, if you want to share these tools once they're created, all you have to do is email those, hint, hint, for those field people out using the iPad. And I'm just going to simply put that in a location right here and hit save. It's just where I want to save it. I'll go ahead and hit OK. And here's my cool tools. I'll go ahead and unlock it. And you're ready for this? All I have to do now is I'm going to come over here and window around all of these, right click, add to tool chest, cool tools, and there they are. And I'm going to double click on them so that they become property mode. Now, I don't know which one is for which. Go over here to the gear icon and change it to detail. Ta-da! Now I can see which are for the MEP, and I can go ahead and close my markup tools. I'll go ahead and check that back in so someone else can use it. Now, I'm going to go in and start to make up my markups. When I go in and I double click on any of these markups, all I have to do is just double click and open it up, or right click. Now, if I'm the architect, I'm going to come over here and start to make some of these markups. Provide new details for watering systems. I'm going to create a couple more over here. Need enlarged plans, and etc. And I'm going to put some structure ones over here. Revise column. Another one for structure is going to be right over here on this area right here. Provide bumper. Bumper. Bollard. And we're going to go and add some civil. provide more dirt. Whatever it is, what we're going to type. And the nice thing about this is, again, is the reason why I'm doing this, folks, is now over here in the subject area, take a look using the filter list. If I'm taking a look at these drawings, I can come over here and simply take a look at nothing but the structural comments, and I'll see my structural comments here and here. And I can also create a report to export those out. If I want to change that from structure to civil, just uncheck that. And now I see my civil comments. This is awesome. If I want to go back and see them all, just uncheck that. And now I see all my comments. Now I'm simply going to do is, as I'm working on this, once I'm finished with it, I'm simply going to go back, click here and check it back in. Now this is important because think of it like a public library book. No one else can check this out until it's checked back in. So I'm going to return it, click check in. I can add comments if I want to, and now it's checked in. You'll notice it's locked, which means I can just see it. So let's say I'm going to invite Scott. Scott, if I invite you to this project right now and you open it, then I'll still be able to see it. I'll see the last time it was updated and it'll be locked. So the question sometimes comes up is, what happens if someone else has it open? Well, I'll see the last condition it was in, but I won't see Scott's comments as he's making them. Now, if I wanted to invite, let's say, Scott and Virginia and Nathan, hey, Nathan, and I wanted to invite everyone to the project at the same time, I'm going to utilize something called Studio Sessions. Now, what is a studio session? A studio session gives us the ability to take a document, just a PDF, and invite as many people as we want into a virtual room. And everyone has their own markup tool, their pen, their own color, because I've already shared that file with them. And then we can collectively work on that file at the same time. So it's not one person at a time, it's everyone working on it. So let me give you a scenario. I'm working in the office. Scott is out in the field. Virginia's out in the fabrication area. And Amy, you're going to be our owner, and all three of us, or all four of us, are going to be looking at this document at the same time. If I come over here and I want us all to be able to look at the file exactly at the same time, I'm going to add it to a session. Right from the project, when I add it to a session, I'm going to call this Cool Room Conference. I typically will have a conference room, a digital conference room per project. That way it's a digital conference room. The table's empty, and I'm going to bring in the drawings that I want and take them out of this digital conference room. And then we can start to look at those drawings as need be on whatever's on the table in this conference room. I'll hit OK. And what it's doing is it's checking out that file from projects and moving it over to sessions. Now, here's a really cool thing. Remember I told you about projects? Everyone has to have their own license to open that file. If you're using sessions and I invite Scott and Virginia and Brett and Nathan and everyone else, you guys don't have to have a license of Bluebeam. Let me say it again. You do not have to have a license of Bluebeam. You just have to have it installed on your computer. When you're invited to a session, Bluebeam, if it is in viewer only, which means it's expired after 30 days, once that user is invited to a session, it becomes fully functional and automatically comes into markup mode. This is amazing because then you can invite subs, anyone you want. All they have to do is download and install Bluebeam. And I'm going to show you where you can download that as well. So now all of these users that I've technically would invite, all I have to do is invite them here to the studio session. The session behaves just like I did before. I'm going to come over here and invite those people. Over here, I can use their emails like before from groups that I've set up or my address book. If I click on address book, this is actually going to open up my Microsoft Exchange contact list, which I'm not going to show you because then everyone's going to have all my contacts, but you can add information here. I'm going to type in those emails just like I did before, and I'm going to go over here to my list. I'm simply going to copy this, come back over here, check it, everything looks okay, and invite people. When they receive those email notifications, you'll see as a project manager, I can see who's not joined me yet. I can select a reminder to individuals and hit send reminder. This will send this person a second email notification saying, hey, you haven't joined yet. This gives you the ability as a project manager to make sure to see who's joined. Now, in this case, the permission levels are really, you're adding everyone to this particular sheet. If I wanted to have all of those individuals work with me on this sheet, all I have to do is open up this sheet and then wait for them to show up. Once they show up, if they were right here, I can right-click on their name and follow them. So I can watch their cursor as they're making their markups. A security feature in Sessions also allows you to make your markups and not worry about anyone else deleting your markups. So Amy, if you were making markups and I was making up markups, you would make them all day long, but I wouldn't be able to click on them and delete it because I don't want to overwrite your information. At the end of the session, all I have to do is come over here and leave the session. By the way, you're saving as you're going. There's never a save. As you're making your markups, those will automatically show up. Once I'm done with that session, all I have to do is finish the session. It'll take everyone's markups that shows up here. Granted, if there are more people, you would have seen a list of people. And then I'm going to overwrite the existing file that's in my project. I can also generate a report. I'll go ahead and click OK. And what it's doing is it's gone through and take it out of that session, right? That digital conference room, that conference room is now empty and I can place anything else. And over here, it's completed. It's now gone back and set it up online and I can see what everyone has been working on. Over here, I can see my summary report of everyone that has joined it. And if there was a lot of people, you would see this person joined, this person created a markup, and you would see all of their information. And I'm simply going to go back in over here and check that back in. This is awesome. You know, again, when we're talking about studio projects, now I'm back over into projects, I want to briefly talk to you about Office. So Bluebeam and Microsoft Office has an incredible relationship. They're not like this, they are integrated. And over here, if I wanted to open up even an Excel or Word file or PDF, all I have to do, double click on it. When I double click on it over here, it's going to open it up in native Word. This is awesome. So it's opening it. I don't have to worry about where did I save it. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say this is General 101. Actually, I needed to update that to say General 101. And all I'm going to do is hit save. You ready? And close it. That's it. That's all I got to do. Then, just like a library book, I have to return it. So I'm going to go over here and right click and check it back in. When I do that, anyone that I've invited to that project is available. Wow. I can't believe I went into all of that. Yeah, this was so much fun in 45 minutes. So again, studio projects, studio sessions are available to you for free, included in every edition of Bluebeam. And if you're using sessions, you can invite others. Now, let me show you where you can get Bluebeam if you don't have it downloaded already. I'm going to go over here online. I'm going to show our website. And the easiest way to get to it is ASTI.com. When I go to our website, what I'm going to do is click over here where it says, I am looking for software. And I'm going to go over here and look for partner products. Under partner products, look for Bluebeam. Simply click on See More. Now, what's really nice about this, and I'm excited about our website over here, is that not only can you get a free download trial, but in just a little bit, there'll be a pop-up over here, which will give you the ability to download our free guides. You can request a quote, and over here is some demo information. But if you scroll all the way down, there it is, our free guide. This is a free guide that we put together for you, and it costs how much? Free. So I can download that. That information also is here in case you missed that pop-up where you can get the definitive guide to Bluebeam. It's free. Also work from anywhere, also free, and gives you keyboard shortcuts, just as a little teaser. By the way, also if you need training, you can reach out to us or look at some previous blog posts and events that we've done in the past. So with that, I'm going to take it back to you, Amy, and see if our users have any questions. I got to tell you, I love this. You can't tell, maybe you can't tell, but I love Bluebeam.
I hope that you're ready to answer some questions because there are plenty.
Woo. All right.
All right, I'll start from the top. Okay, the first question is, I'm looking for an explanation on the difference between batch slip sheeting extreme and inserting revision sheets into a set. Do they both give the same result? Is one approach better, more efficient, faster, etc., than the other, and how?
Okay, so now over here under batch, you have an ability if you're using Bluebeam Extreme Edition. By the way, Bluebeam comes in 3 different editions over here under review. If I go over here to about, it'll tell me which edition I have of Bluebeam. If you're using Bluebeam Extreme, it includes batch features to do slip sheeting. What this gives me the ability to do is take a set of drawings. Let's say as an architect, I received my engineer's drawings and there's 50 sheets from my mechanical drawings. A month later, I get a revised set of 50 sheets. And what I can do is bring them in and it'll automatically slip sheet. What that does, it takes the original sheet, any of the markups that are there, brings my revised sheet, places it on top, transfers my markups from my original up to my revised drawing, and then places a superseded stamp on my old one. That PDF will now have page 1 and page 2. Page 2 will be the old drawings. Now, slip sheet under batch, you can do this for hundreds of sheets in an easy click. If you're not using Extreme, you can use just document sets. And when we go over here to sets, you can manually go through and create a set without using batch anything, create a set, and then upload your revised drawings. Let me show you how easy it is to do a set of drawings. I'm going to go ahead and close projects because sets are so cool. Over here, what I'm going to do is create a set of drawings, and this is available to you on all editions. And I'm going to come over here and click Open from Disk. I'm going to go over here and take a look at my drawings. And over here are about 64 drawings that I have that I've received. That's interesting. And well, it's live. You know, something would happen, right? I'll go ahead and hit OK. Let me try it again. That shouldn't happen. And I'll go ahead and hit OK. Nope. All right, let me go over here. Open up these right here. And what it's done, Sets gives me the ability to manage a whole set of drawings where they're individual pages from everywhere. And then they'll behave like a drawing set, like a rolled up set of construction documents where I can thumb through and see my architecture sheets, my civil sheets, and Bluebeam will organize it for me. Over here, it's asking me to scan in the page name. I'm going to click Select and go to Page Name. What it's doing is it's using OCR to scan all of my sheets, and then I'll do Number. And the reason why I'm doing this is I'm going to show you how you can update a set of drawings. I'll click OK. And just like that, it created these set of drawings. Now over here, I have my drawings. They behave as a multi-page PDF, but in reality, they're all just individual drawings. So now let's say I get an updated set from my architect. All I'm going to do is come over here and add files to this drawing. Over here, I'm going to click Open Disk, and I'm going to go to find my updated drawings. So in this case, I have updated drawings right here from my architect, and I'm going to open them up. I hit OK. It's going to match these automatically. I'm going to verify that these all match because my new ones have a new name. I'm going to hit OK. Sit back, relax, stretch a little, dance a little. You'll notice what's happening here. It's replacing those old sheets. Now, look what happens over here. Under my architecture sheets, let me go ahead and minimize this right here. When I click over here, you'll notice that it says Rev. When I click on the drawing, it shows me my updated sheet. I put big updated. And if I want to see my old sheet, I click here and I'll see my old sheet. And that sheet over here says superseded. If I want to see this differently, I can change this to show thumbnails, and anything that's been updated has this little sliver right over here to show that there's something that's superseded. This is the updated sheet, and those are superseded. To answer your question is basically, you can go through and use batch to do this or sets. Two of them serve two different purposes.
All right. So we have a lot of questions, Rick. We'll try to get through all of them.
I will tell you, if we don't get to your questions, we'll try to call you or email you. And also, don't forget, if you have a question afterwards, please email us, bluebeam@asti.com, and we'll be sure to get to you. Bluebeam@asti.com. Back to you, Amy.
All right. When saving files in the cloud, do we have to first create a folder in the cloud?
No, you do not. So think of it as just a regular, like your C drive, right? If you take your files and you download files from the web and you just drop them on your desktop, right? They're all over the place. But if you create a folder, and then when you go to download, you point to that folder, then they'll be contained in that folder. I just like to have folders so that I don't have a bunch of things all over the place. You can create them on the fly or just drag them in, but it behaves just like your C drive.
Does this process work the same if you're working on a local network?
So yes, if you're working on a local network, absolutely. So it's exactly the same. The thing is that you're just connected to the web. It's all it needs is the web access.
Awesome. Okay, and someone's asking if you can review Incognito, like, so maybe you don't want people to know that you're in the room. They said that they might be editing something at 2:30 in the morning and don't want anybody judging them. So
yeah, no, then you shouldn't be working at 2:30 in the morning. What are you doing? You should be asleep like the rest of us. Actually, that one I'd have to get back to you, because typically when you go through and you sign in, I mean, I don't even want to show you how to do that if it's possible, because here's the thing, when you're using Bluebeam Studio projects and sessions, you want accountability. So you want to know who's working on when. And if you're working at 2:30 in the morning, kudos to you, more caffeine to you. But as a project manager, I really want to be able to see who's done what. And the reason being is, if someone has gone through and created markups as a project manager, I want to be able to go to that person and say, hey, what was it? Can you please explain further? What do you mean that you need further detail on fill in the blank? So I don't suggest Incognito.
all right.
I suggest sleeping.
Can a Bluebeam set be uploaded to a session?
Can a Bluebeam set be updated to a session? You know, I haven't tried it. I would imagine you can, because you can upload a set and we can create a set into a project. So over here with my studio project, I can easily go through and create a project set within, so you can create yes, you can actually. Sorry, I just had to go through and fast forward to see how it's done. And absolutely you can. If you want, reach out to us and we'll be happy to do a demo. But ultimately what you do in a short version, upload your files, all your individual files to one folder, right? And so that one folder has all the files into them. And then you're going to go through and open up sets over here. When you open up sets, it's going to look first to your projects that are available to you, available online. Create your set, your BEX file. And then when you save that BEX file, you save it back to projects. At that point, now they're a studio project, and any of those files can then be transferred over. Remember, in sessions though, it's just PDFs. In projects, it's any file type, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you name it. But sessions is PDFs only.
All right, and what are expired files?
So expired files, wow, that's a good one. Expired files is you can set up a project date that this is going to end. So when I go into project settings over here, you have the ability to have the ability to go through. Let me go into a session. I think you're referring to session. And when I go over here to my studio sessions, I have the ability to have an expiration. So what this does is I typically will expire things after a week so they don't get stale. And ultimately what happens is in this studio session, I can bring in papers. Remember, I have a virtual conference room that's empty and it's one conference room per project. And what I'll do is I'll bring those digital papers, those PDFs into a session. I'll enable the expiration, and at the end of the week over here at 5 o'clock, everything in there will automatically disappear from the session and be returned to the project. So enable expirations is a smart thing. Good questions. Wow.
All right. What, if any, Bluebeam functions can be used in concert with compliant use of BIM 360?
Okay, so that's a loaded question. All right, so BIM 360 Design is an Autodesk software platform that allows you to store your files on the cloud. Now, on Autodesk's cloud, it's really for collaborating with Revit files, RVT files. If you're using BIM 360 and you're using RVT files, you're going to be using BIM 360 Design or BIM Collaborate Pro, as what it's called now, to collaborate with a Revit file. Do not try to use Revit files in a studio environment if they are work shared. You can use studio projects if you're using it kind of like an FTP site where you just want to bring in and export local files, not work shared files. It'll mess up. If you want to do markups on BIM 360 files, if you have the desktop connector installed, and over here, for example, I turned it off, but it would show up over here under this PC, then what that'll do is that'll create copies of files that are sitting on your C drive using the desktop connector. In Bluebeam, you can then point to the desktop connector files and start to mark up those PDFs. Now, here's a really neat workflow, is if you mark up, let's say, PDF files in your desktop connector that are on your C drive, they're mirrored to the BIM 360 servers. So then those markups are now available to everyone on your project. So hopefully answered some questions or piqued some interest there.
Great. So I noticed we're at the top of the hour. And so
Wow.
To be mindful of everyone's time, I'd like to go ahead and give away the gift card. And then Rick, if you're available to keep answering some questions, we can keep answering questions until, we run out, or we can email them. We can give you a spreadsheet of the questions and let you answer and email those out. Which would you prefer?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's go for, we'll do, the drawing.
Okay.
And then afterwards, I'll stay online for another 10 minutes if anyone has questions. Again, afterwards, if we didn't get to your questions, and if we don't email you, we should, but just in case, again, bluebeam@asti.com, and myself or others will get to you. And by the way, we provide training on Bluebeam. That's me, and I'll be your trainer on Bluebeam or one of my colleagues. As a certified instructor, I'm one of the few in the country, so I'm excited to share that knowledge and help you work smarter, not harder. So back to you. Let's give away that prize. By the way, can I win it? I've been talking the most.
You have been talking the most, but you're not allowed to win, unfortunately. All right. So I've put in everyone's name who submitted questions. Some people emailed me, messaged me privately, and put them directly into the chat with everyone. And I've put them into a wheel of names, and our winner is Mike Lineback. Mike, you are our winner today. We will be sending you a digital Amazon gift card to the email address that you registered with. If you would prefer to get that some other way, then send me a quick message or email us and let me know.
Congratulations. Way to go. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, golf clap, everyone. Yay.
Thank you, everybody, for being here and for answering so many questions. So, Rick, are you going to answer a few more?
Yeah,
Okay,
let's bring it on. Bring it on.
All right.
I'm here. I'm ready to share.
All right. So can you set up a template with the custom cloud and markup tools to use on other sessions?
Yes, so that's a great question. So typically what I would do is I'm going to go through and create that file. Remember that one page that I had over here with my markup tools? I'm going to go through and create that file, and I'm going to save it on my own computer or save it on my server and have it handy to then upload it anytime I want to any of the projects. And I'll have information. I mean, I did it really quickly on that 8.5 by 11, but realistically, I'm going to type information. I'm going to say, please do this, this, and this, so you can just add it to your tool set, okay? The other thing that I can do is I can also include, if I want to, a hyperlink to my BTX file. That way they can just double click on it. Sometimes I've noticed some computer systems block that and they see it as a virus with everything going on. I've kind of stopped doing that because everyone's a little bit more sensitive to that, and I am too. So just creating the Cloud Plus 8.5 by 11 gives everyone those tools. And remember, any tool that you put up there can be shared. So Cloud Plus, your custom symbols, your custom line types, you name it, you're going to create those there.
All right. And so I see we have, Virginia says it would be good to have the video recording. So since I think that there's a way that we can actually do the screen share and the portion with Rick only, so we won't be sharing anyone else's faces. So we probably could share this video recording since, but yeah, I'll look into that and edit it. The main reason we weren't planning to share it is we just don't want people to feel funny about like asking questions or sharing their webcams or anything like that. But I think I can share the bulk of the presentation without, worrying about the privacy issues. So let me work on that. We can edit that and get that out to everyone because I'm sure it will be very helpful.
Yeah, I think you'll love it.
Yeah. The next question is, civil files always seem to be very slow to open and manipulate. Aside from attempting to reduce file size, are there any other tricks to resolving this issue?
So, that's a very good question. When creating civil files, I mean, civil files by themselves have a tremendous amount of information. So when you export your files out of AutoCAD Civil 3D, you have the ability to export out to different DPI. By default, it's set up to 300 DPI. You don't need 300 DPI. If you go into the property settings within your printer, your PDF printer, the Bluebeam printer, as an example, you have the ability, or any of them, to change the DPI. Try setting it to 150 DPI. That's the first thing that you can do to reduce the file size. The second, as you had mentioned, is reducing the file size after you receive that PDF, after what I consider it being baked out of the authoring application, then go to Document and Reduce File Size. Typically, what I'll do is reducing the file size. If I go over here and open up a recent file, let's see. I'm going to go to Document, and what I'm going to do is Reduce File Size. There is a slider right over here of quality to compression. I take it all the way to the max. I have never had a problem with the compression being so significant that it's hard to read the information. So export out at 150 DPI, try maximum compression, and you'll see that it should work. If text is difficult to read because it becomes garbled, which I've never had, then start to ease up on your compression a little, okay? Until you're at a happy spot. And then and basically do that for compressing files. But yeah, civil files are another thing. If you're using Civil 3D, you also have the ability to export out in layers. So what you can do is, even if it's a large file, this will behave kind of like AutoCAD, where we can start to turn on and off layers to toggle those things on and off. So they're either on and they show up, or they're off. So we can start to minimize how much is being refreshed on your computer. The other thing is you want to make sure to update your video card. Your video card is very crucial for rendering speeds on your PDF. So make sure that you have an updated video card driver. And you can also go through and take a look at that. Where is it? I'm looking here. Here, rendering engine. So the rendering engine, you want to make sure if you have a dedicated video card that you set it to hardware, okay? That's going to use your GPU on your video card. If you don't have a dedicated video card, then you just use software and it's going to utilize your regular RAM. So again, a good video card is going to help you tremendously.
All right. The next question is, can multiple people edit the Word document at a time?
No.
No.
So unfortunately, in projects, it's just one person at a time opens up that Word file and they check it back in like a library book. In sessions, it's just PDFs and you can have 500 people working on it at the same time, but it's just a PDF. And by the way, when working in sessions, you want to make sure to set up any custom columns in Markups list before you create a session. Once it's in a session, you cannot update the sheet. You can't like slip it out and put a new sheet in or add Markups list. The way that I like to think about it is if everyone's looking at this particular drawing in a session, imagine this as a rug and everyone's standing on it with a big old Sharpie and they're making their markups. We, as the author, can't pull the rug because everyone's standing on it. We have to ask everyone to leave the session, and then I check it out, close the session, bring it back into projects, and update either my markups list or update the sheet to a new sheet.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then the next question I can answer, it's how can you get the free guide if you already have the software installed? So Rick showed you where you can go on our website to download a free 30-day trial. And he mentioned the free guide, the definitive guide to Bluebeam. And I will go ahead and put a direct link where you can download that in the chat. I'll go ahead and ask the next question so Rick can get started on that, and then I will put it in the chat. And we'll also send you an email with all of these links tomorrow morning so that you can have all of this at your fingertips. Is a copy of the document preserved in its pre-edited version for record keeping?
Ooh, that is a great question. And the answer is yes. So over here in studio projects and in sessions, if I go over here and start to take a look at our conference room, this particular drawing that I was working on over here, I can go over here and look at its revision history. Now this is awesome. So I can see who's worked on it. And what's nice about this is I can go back in time, see all the markups that are here. I'll go back to this markup over here or the very first one and open up that revision. It'll temporarily open up that file in a previous session, and it's unlimited. You can go back in history at any point in time, and you'll notice over here, it shows the icon for a glass. So I know that I'm in studio version 1.0, and this will continue to keep updating. All I have to do is if I decide to, oops, let me close that. And I'm gonna go back to revision history, close it. Come on, close. And if it's the one that I want, all I have to do is come back over here and I can open it and then save it out again. And now I have a permanent history. So again, what's really nice is in sessions as well as in studio projects, this is great, amazing because I can go back and see all of its history for this and just restore it if necessary.
All right. The next question is, do BEX files work with the review for iPad? I know in previous versions it was not compatible.
Yes, it does.
Oh, nice. Good. All right. So here's a follow-up question. And Rick, I am sorry if you already answered this when you answered the previous question, but a follow-up to the local network question. Would I create a session? If not, how would I start a new local project? So again, starting a new local project is literally coming over here,
once you're in studio projects, it really doesn't matter if you're in a wide area network or a local network, because all you're doing over here is you're creating a new, think of it like a website online through Bluebeam. So it doesn't matter what kind of network you're in. Even if you're VPNing into an office or whatever it is, you can go over here and create a new studio project, and it places a new website online, and then your local files, you basically upload those there. And then they're available to anyone on an iPad or on a PC version.
Great. All right, so we have several people saying great presentation and thank you. Rick Kramer is the Bob Ross of Bluebeam. I don't know if you saw that one, Rick, but I need
no,
to sure.
I love that. I love that.
All right, and then we had one last question. How does 3D work? That seems a little bit loaded.
Okay, so that is a great question. So 3D gives, if you're using Bluebeam Extreme or Bluebeam CAD Edition, within Revit, for example, you see I have Revit down over here, or in AutoCAD. If you create an object in Revit, for example, you have the ability to export it out in 3D. Let me go ahead. I'm going to open up Revit. This might take just a little bit of time to do it. But what this does, it gives you the ability, instead of just printing out sheets, right, your ordinary sheet, you can print out a 3D PDF of your model. And then in Bluebeam, you can start to rotate it. You can take sections through it. You can start to understand your building or a section of your building even better. So in just a little bit, I'm going to show you how that's done. A lot of times what you can do is, if you create a sheet, this is really neat. You can have a sheet, let's say with elevations, and then one of those viewports in Revit can be your 3D model. When you export that out, you can click inside the viewport and start to rotate the model. It comes alive. I'm going to go over here and just open up a sample file that's available to everyone. Sample files. And let's see, trying to find that house. All right, I'll use this commercial project right over here. Good questions. I gotta say, Amy, this is a very energetic and smart group.
Yeah.
I love it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my 3D views, and let's take a look at one of these. Matter of fact, I'm just going to show you right from the get-go. If I wanted to create something unique, I'm going to come over here and create, for example, a section, right? I want to understand how this works in 3D. This is one of the things I love to do in Revit, is to create a 3D section. And I'm going to go over here and immediately go to that section that I just created. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and name it something. So I'm going to call this North-South Building Section. Totally misspelled it, but that's okay. And this is just a section, but you're going to say, but Rick, you said it can be done in 3D. I'm going to go over here to my 3D view, hover over my view cube, orient to view, sections, ready? NS building, I misspelled section, but that's okay. You get the point. Now over here, I have this new 3D section, okay? I'm going to go ahead and save this. Right now it's read only. So I'm going to go ahead and save this project to my desktop. It's a good idea to always save. And now what I'm going to do is initiate my add-ins. Now remember, this add-in is available to you if you're using Bluebeam CAD or Bluebeam Extreme. I'm going to click over here, create a 3D PDF. I'm going to save it somewhere. Over here, I'm just going to save it back to our class file, our webinar that was from today, and hit save. Sit back. It's creating a PDF. And now over here in Bluebeam is that PDF. Whoops. And I have all the ability to start to rotate it any way I want.
That's amazing.
Isn't it? So I've taken that document that is just a regular PDF, and now I've gone through and I can light it. I can come over here. I can rotate it. I can create sections. You can really elevate your regular PDF to help understand. This was kind of boring. I was looking for something that might have a lot of detail to it to understand that section better dynamically.
All right, so a couple of follow-up questions to that. Are the 3D PDFs viewable on iPad?
If you're using the Bluebeam Review app, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, great. All right, does Bluebeam release version have to be the same as your Revit for the plugin to work?
No. You'll notice I have Bluebeam, in this case, I have Bluebeam Review 20, which is the latest one. And then my Revit, I have 19, 20, 21. I haven't even installed 22 yet. But the catch is, as long as you have those add-ins installed over here in Review, right? So I'm going to go over here to Review, go to Administrator. And here it is. Initiate that add-in, then I'll have those add-ins installed in Review. So even if I'm stuck in Revit 2018, and I'm using Review 20, it doesn't matter as long as I have that plugin installed.
All right, and we had one last question. Rick, we might need to answer this one offline. It's a little bit loaded as well. What's the biggest difference between Extreme and CAD?
Oh boy. Well, I'll tell you. The biggest difference really, and I'll answer it generally speaking, is in Extreme, one of the biggest features is all the batch capabilities. The difference between the two nominally for money is minimal, but the amount of time that you'll save, typically most companies will have a lot of standard licenses and then a couple Extreme licenses for the occasions that they need to do batch commands. The batch commands that I use all the time is compare documents, where I will have a set of drawings and another set of drawings, and I'm not slip sheeting. All I'm doing is I want to see what's the difference between A and B set, and I can scan all of the drawings, hundreds of them, and it'll cloud the revisions and show me what's changed between them. So using the Extreme feature gives me the ability to do what's called a batch compare. If you don't have Extreme, you can only do that compare file to file, one file to one file, and under batch, you can do hundreds of them. So as a project manager, I can see what's the difference between one set and the other. The other thing is everything here under the batch command is going to be available to you for the most part in the Extreme edition. If you go online over here and do comparison of Bluebeam editions, there's a nice guide that shows you everything that's the difference between the standard, CAD, and Extreme. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and copy and paste that over here in the chat window so everyone has it. So down below in the chat area, you can see for yourself the differences between standard, CAD, and Extreme. And so over here, as I mentioned over here, it has built-in OCR, automatic form creation, batch sign and seal, batch, and it's totally very, very well worth it.